Good afternoon all, Patricia here, and I am traveling for history. I have a new book recommendation for you today, and its title is Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs? By Caitlin Doughty, and that's the cover of the book right there. The questions in this book, including the title, came from children who asked these questions during presentations that Caitlin Doughty offered around the world. Now, in the U.S., parents do not typically take their children to these talks. But elsewhere in the world, parents do. So kids had questions, and they asked them, and suddenly there's this book. So you may be wondering who Caitlin Doughty is. She is a mortician. The perfect person to answer all these questions. She has a funeral parlor, a funeral home. Same thing, different name. She has a funeral home in California and does a lot of green burials too. So she has a show on YouTube called Ask a Mortician. Oh my gosh, it's great stuff. So I highly recommend her channel. It's a lot of fun. Not only does she answer questions that people have submitted, she also talks about these historic deaths, like shipwrecks and things like that, and what happens to bodies in different temperatures in the water. It's fascinating, people. I can't say enough good things about her videos, and then she has a sense of humor about all this stuff too, which I love. You know, if you have a morbid sense of humor, such as I and as she does, then I think you'll like her stuff. And this book, if you hang out to the end, I've got a story about this book that I read, and it's a book. I didn't listen to this on Audible. It's available on Audible, but I read this years ago. So as a book. So let me also read to you the description of it before we continue. Quote, best-selling author and mortician Caitlin Doughty answers real questions from kids about death, dead bodies, and decomposition. Every day, funeral director Caitlin Doughty receives dozens of questions about death. The best questions come from kids. What would happen to an astronaut's body if it were pushed out of a space shuttle? Do people poop when they die? Can Grandma have a Viking funeral? On a side note, don't we all wonder these things? But, you know, kids are willing to ask them. In Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs, Doughty blends her mortician's knowledge of the body and the intriguing history behind common misconceptions about corpses to offer factual, hilarious, and candid answers to 35 distinctive questions posed by her youngest fans. In her inimitable voice, Doughty details lore and science of what happens to and inside our bodies after we die. Why do corpses groan? What causes bodies to turn colors during decomposition? And why do hair and nails appear longer after death? Listeners will learn the best soil for mummifying your body, whether you can preserve your best friend's skull as a keepsake, and what happens when you die on a plane. Beautifully illustrated by Diane Ruse, Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs shows us that death is science and art, and only by asking questions can we begin to embrace it. Came out in 2019, by the way. If you listen to it on Audible, you can. The unabridged book runs 4 hours and 29 minutes, and the author is also the narrator. The book is overall hysterical. These kids ask great questions, and it's so much fun. Now, as to the story I was going to share, so I had gone to my library. They had, I think, her first book. They didn't have her second book, so I got an interlibrary loan for that. And, you know, it was okay. And then this book was about to come out, and I really wanted to read it. So I I went to my library and said, I'd really like to get an interlibrary loan on this book, please. I mean, it had just come out. So the librarian does her thing on the keyboard, and she says, oh, we'll just buy this book. Awesome. So, a few weeks later, I got an email saying, or I got a phone call saying that the book was ready to go out, and I was the first person. I had first dibs. I had first dibs on this book. Hoo, yay. So, the next day I was flying out to Arizona. So I had this book with me. I read it in airports. I read it when I was visiting my friend. And on the way back, I had, 2, maybe 3 hour layover. And I was sitting at the gate area reading this book and laughing my fool head off. Laughing and laughing and laughing. Well, this guy comes over who clearly worked for the airport. And he said, what are you reading? You're having such a good time. So I pick up the, I pick up the book because I was holding it down in my hand. And I showed him the title, showed him the book front. And he looked at it horrified, stepped back, and then scurried away as fast as he could. I'm not a serial killer. I have a morbid sense of humor. So, anyway, it is a great read. It doesn't really take that long overall, but if you want to be entertained by these, first of all, the questions themselves, but then get a really great answer from Caitlin Doughty, who is this mortician, then I can't recommend this book enough. I think you'll enjoy it on a lot of different levels, including, of course, if you have a morbid sense of humor. So, Will My Cat Eat My Eyeballs? Great book. All right, well, this is Patricia. I'm traveling for history. Thanks so much for watching. And until I see you again, hey, have a fabulous day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.